Hi, I'm Jules. Welcome back to the channel, to Digital Rat Gear, where we bring you reviews and tips about digital rat gear for music production. The case for vintage rat gear was made in my last video, which you can see here. Today we're going to look at the case against buying and owning vintage rat gear. So let's get into it. Number one is the aging or unsupported components that can appear in our older equipment. The most obvious example of this is capacitors in the power supply of older equipment which need replacing. However, of more concern are the bespoke components that are specific to pieces of vintage equipment. My friend Jason purchased an old Yamaha DX1 with the aim to restore it. However, there were some specific chips in the DX1 that are not available and effectively render that synth as a spare parts instrument only. In the digital rat gear world, there are examples exactly the same of gear that are dead set classics, so much so that there are official plugins from their respective companies, and yet the original hardware is not replicable now. The TC Electronic 2290 and Eventide H3000 were both in production for a very long period of time, yet none of its hardware is replicable today. TC Electronic's own website calls out the reason production ceased was due to the unavailability of original components. So this is about supportability. A good thing is that these machines were built so well from the get-go with amazing and deep research and development. Lexicon, Ensoniq, Boss all put their own chips into various releases of their great equipment. If some specific components go in any of these pieces of equipment, it's certain curtains for that gear. It's all over. As time marches on, that may be more likely. However, that's part of the cost of admission. Reason number two is the lack of support. Some vintage gear is from manufacturers who are no longer in business or not in that business of their original form. Ensoniq, DoD, Digitech are all now gone. Some other companies are markedly different from their former eras. Lexicon is an example of that. Some companies, like Eventide, are different by design, marching forward and investing in new gear. And well, I don't know if anyone there remembers their excellent A-series range. Fortunately, there are manufacturers who are still going strong, and some of these are still supporting their vintage gear. It's particularly important when it comes to gear that interfaces with a computer and may need updates to cater for operating system changes. Props to Mark of the Unicorn, who shine in this area. This level of support is rare, and unfortunately non-existent updates to equipment mean old gear is harder to live with. Reason number three is the cost of maintaining equipment that can grow as it gets out of warranty. We're talking battery updates, capacitor replacements, LCD displays, and buttons. Old gear needs repair, and that can be costly, especially if you can't do it yourself. Reason number four is the sad fact that technology uplift such as miniaturization can make old effects and equipment irrelevant. That single channel delay can now be had in a smaller, more flexible package with 10 times as much memory and in true stereo. And that is the challenge of technology. It almost always moves forward. Reason number five is the implementation of technology within the gear itself. Older rat gear in particular can lack the things we take for granted today, such as system exclusive messages to save presets or changing modulation parameters via MIDI. The newest range of technologies include networked, Bluetooth-enabled gear, some with iPad support that expands their user interface. I love the way we can now network MIDI and audio. Getting anywhere near this level of support from older gear takes the hard work of individuals who are committed to supporting the gear that they love, often when the original manufacturers have long forgotten about it or are out of business. Old gear really gets that support and is yet another reason getting into the latest and greatest gear with a warranty, full tech support, and getting the benefit of the latest technological advantages. A bonus sixth reason is hype, which materializes in inflated prices in the vintage gear market. The perceived value and allure of vintage gear, which, as we've seen earlier, doesn't always get reflected in the performance of the gear. Hype and gear isn't going to reflect value to you. So let's have a look again at the top 5 reasons why you shouldn't invest in vintage gear. Aging and or unsupported components, lack of manufacturer support, cost of maintaining the equipment, technology uplift making old effects and therefore equipment irrelevant, and implementation of technology, including interfaces with the latest technologies. I hope you've learnt from these 2 videos the good and the bad that vintage rack gear can offer, and that can help you work out whether that next piece will be the right fit for you. If you liked this video, hit the like button. Please subscribe for more digital rack gear. And see you soon.